This is called Roman A. clef. It's a literary technique where they hide the truth in supposed fiction. Okay? The Onion, I didn't read about many of the articles on the Onion, but I just typed in Greece hoax because someone said that what's happening in Greece is that it's collapsing now, and I was like, no, it's not. You heard that in the media, and it's a lie. Okay, so like I typed in Greece hoax, and this is where it came up. Historians admit to inventing ancient Greeks. This story is awesome, right? Even people are going to think that it's a lie because it's the Onion, okay? And they think that, the Washington Post or the New York Times is the truth. See, that's the psyop, okay? That some of them are truthful and other ones are not, okay? Complete psyop. Just get to the truth. You have to dig really hard. It's not an easy pill. It's not something that you could easily find. Remember the Matrix movie? Most people walk their whole entire lives not even knowing there's a pill. Washington, a group of leading historians held a press conference Monday at the National Geographic Society to announce that they had entirely fabricated ancient Greece, a culture long thought to be the intellectual basis of Western civilization. Okay? The group acknowledged that the idea of a sophisticated, flourishing society existing in Greece more than 2 millennia ago was a complete fiction invented by a team of 24 historians and classics who worked nonstop between 1971 and 1974 to forge Greek documents and artifacts. Although I don't agree with that date, the date that they said that they did this. I think it was a little earlier than that. Okay, and it was a bunch of secret society members, obviously trying to give themselves a, something previous, and try to say that for some reason, trying to say, let me add this part. This is very important. Trying to say that somehow Freemasonry has roots in Plato and Aristotle, when it really has roots in Judaism. Okay, so they had to forge that, and it probably was earlier than that, like maybe 1870s, maybe before schooling began, because obviously adults are going to come here and be like, well, I learned that in school, this can't be true. Well, you're stupid, you can't go back 100 years. They obviously are lying about the date that they did this. Honestly, we never meant for things to go this far, said Professor Gene Hailberry, who was offered to resign his position as chair of Hellenic Studies at Georgetown University. We were young and trying to advance our careers, so we started making things up. Homer, Aristotle, Socrates, Hippocrates, the lever and fulcrum, rhetoric, ethics, and all the different kinds of columns, everything. Way more stuff than any one civilization could have come up with, obviously. According to Hailberry, the idea of inventing a wholly fraudulent ancient culture came about when he and other scholars realized that they had no idea what actually happened in Europe during the 800 period before the Christian era. Just one of ancient artifacts dreamed up in the basement of Somerville, Massachusetts. See that? Frustrated by a gap in the record and finding archaeologists to be not of much help at all, they took the problem to colleagues who were then scrambling to find a way to explain where things such as astronomy, cartography, and democracy came from. Within hours, the greatest and most influential civilization of all time was born. One night, someone made a joke about just taking all these ideas, lumping them together, and saying the Greeks had done it all in 2,000 years ago. Hailberry said, one thing led to another, and before you know it, we're coming up with everything from the Golden Ratio to the Iliad. That was the bitch to write, by the way, he continued, referring to the epic poem believed to have been laid the foundation for Western literary tradition, but it seemed to catch on. Around the same time, a curator of the Smithsonian reportedly asked for Hailberry's help. The museum had received a sizable donation to create an exhibit on the ancient world, but really didn't have a whole lot to put in there. The historians immediately set to work, hastily falsifying evidence of a civilization that, complete with its own poets and philosophers, gods and heroes, would eventually become the centerpiece of school books, college educations, and the entire field of the humanities. Emily Nguyen-Whiteman, one of the young academics who pulled a month's worth of all-nighters working on the project, explained that the whole of ancient Greek architecture was based on buildings in Washington, D.C., including a bank across the street from the coffee shop where they met to battle around ideas about mythology or whatever. We picked Greece because we figured nobody would ever go there to check it out. Nigerian Whiteman said, "Have you ever seen the place? It's a dump. It's like an abandoned gravel pit infested with cats." she she added, inevitably, though, people started looking around for some of this ancient stuff, and next thing I know, I'm stuck in Athens all summer long, building a goddamn Parthenon just to cover our tracks. Nigerian Whiteman acknowledged that she was also tasked with altering documents ranging from early Bibles to the writings of Thomas Jefferson to reflect the classical Greek influence, a task that also included the creation from scratch of a language based on modern Greek that could pass as its ancient precursor. Historians also told reporters that such of the so-called Greek ideas were in fact borrowed from the Romans, stripped to their fundamentals, and then attributed to fictional Greek predecessors, but others claimed as their own. Geometry, that was all Kevin, he said, however, referring to former graduate student Kevin Davenport. Man, that kid was on fire in those days. They teach Davenportian geometry in high schools now, that they call it Euclidean. Sources confirmed that long hours and lack of sleep took on their toll on Davenport, and the lukewarm reception of his work on homoeroticism and Spartan military, he left the group. In a statement expressing their profound apologies for misleading the world of the subject on antiquity for almost 40 years, the historians expressed hope that their work would survive on its own merits. It would shame to see humanity abandon achievements such as heliocentrism and the plays of Aeschylus just because of their origin. The statement read in part, "Moreover, we have some rather disappointing things to tell you about the pyramids, the work of Leonardo da Vinci, penicillin, the internet, the scientific method, movies, and dogs."